on now, fellas. We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go.
Welcome into a wild and wacky Wednesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow right here, Mo Patton over there. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. It's hump day, and we're almost through, almost over the hump to the backside of the week, and it's going to be a good one. Got a good show for you lined up. We welcome back Heather Williams. We're just under 3 weeks away from the NASCAR clash at the Coliseum, so we'll talk to her a little bit about that and all of the news that has transpired over the last couple of weeks. We'll also talk to TERESA Walker as we have huge news in the Tennessee Titans camp as they have hired a general manager, so obviously we'll want to talk about that. And really what's next for the Titans. You know, obviously the offensive coordinator position is still open. And the draft is soon. So it'll be here before we know it. All of that and much, much more coming your way. Before we get into anything else, Mo, how's it going?
It's going, man. Had a somewhat change of plans here post-show because Columbia Academy has two kids in the final six of the Division II State Bowling Tournament over at Smyrna Bowling Center. Advanced into that final ladder series there. So Connor Butt and Foster Eisenberg will be bowling beginning at 4:00 over at Smyrna Bowling Center. Eisenberg is the number 6 finisher, so he will bowl right off the rip. And Connor Butt is number 3 so far. So the way the ladder series works is you got your top 6 finishers coming out of the semifinals, 6 bowls against 5, that winner bowls against 4, that winner bowls against 3, and you work your way up. So Connor was the number 3 qualifier coming into the state and finished 3rd coming out of the semifinal. So he's in a fairly good spot. Foster's kind of got some work to do coming out of the number 6 spot, but going to ease over to Smyrna once we get off the air here. So
Got to win 5 games? There's no way. My arm would fall off.
Well, you're not 17 or 18 years old.
That's
either,
true.
So
Well, that's true. Goodness, though.
it's happened.
5?
I don't know if a number 6 finisher has won it, but I do believe a number 5 has.
They still had to win 5 matches too.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So 5 and 6 is pretty well.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Yeah, exactly.
But that's interesting.
Mhm.
I like that. I think that's.
I like it. I think it's pretty fascinating as opposed to,
cool.
6 bowling 3 and 4 bowling 5 in a bracket and that kind of
It'd
thing.
be cool to do that in basketball.
Wouldn't
like a
it? I've
district
thought about
tournament.
that. Yeah.
Because of district tournaments, you can do it however you want to.
Well, and the way the schedules are laid out these days, you might as well, as long as they take.
Right?
I mean,
Let's pitch
you could
that.
you could really incentivize that
seed.
number 1 spot.
Heck
You only
yeah.
got to win 1 game.
That's it.
Of course, if you look at the way the baseball playoffs went this past year, you might want to play too. So
there's that.
yeah, but yeah, I think it's fascinating. I really do.
I like the latter. I'm here for it. So yeah, that sounds fun. High school bowling is interesting in and of itself.
Mhm.
So that should be an interesting day. We've got some scores and schedules to get to you here as well, and we'll do that as we send you to today's rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Girls basketball action from Tuesday night. Stewart's Creek defeated Antioch 73-16. It was Battleground Academy 51, Grace Christian of Franklin 50. Blackman defeated Siegel 65-21. Brentwood downed Franklin 67-33. It was Nolensville 46, Centennial 32. Cheatham County with a 52-32 win over Harpeth. Clarksville Christian defeated Bowling Green, Kentucky 65-62. Columbia Central with a 58-30 win over Summit. Middle Tennessee Christian defeated Columbia Academy 77-63. It was Creekwood 50, Liberty Creek 21, Collinwood 63, Cullioca 56. Clarksville Academy defeated Ezel Harding 45-40. It was White House Heritage 56, Fairview 32. Beach with a 60-55 win over Gallatin. Good Pasture defeated Donaldson Christian 39-34. Greenbrier defeated White House 50-22. It was Richland 75, Hampshire 18. Harpeth Hall with the 10-point win over Brentwood Academy 56-46. And Hillwood defeated Glencliff 55-13.
It was Hendersonville 58, Hunters Lane 14, and Joe Burns 67, STEM Academy 14. Hillsboro with the 12-point win over John Overton 68-56. It was East Robertson 60-6 over Knowledge Academies. Smyrna downs Laverne 46-40. Over Green Hill 40-30. It was Innsworth squeaking by Lipscomb Academy 35-33. Loretto downs Giles County 68-30, while Moore County gets a 61-40 win over Eagleville. Cookeville downs Mount Juliet 63-20, and Murfreesboro Central Magnet a 47-11 winner over Valor Collegiate. Nashville Christian downs Friendship Christian 56-28, and Oakland a 62-17 winner over Riverdale. Lincoln County 54, Page 56. CPA over Pope Prep 47-33. Independence downs Ravenwood 52-41, and Wayne County gets a big win over Santa Fe 73-26. It was Marshall County 57, Spring Hill 28. Station Camp 80, McGavock 52. Summertown 81-13 winners over Mount Pleasant, and Trousdale County over Merrill Hyde 52-29. Tullahoma down to Lawrence County 55-39, and Webb School earns a forfeit win over University School of Nashville 2-0.
In boys basketball action on Tuesday night, Antioch defeated Stewart's Creek 75-39. Battleground Academy defeated Grace Christian of Franklin 72-48. It was Siegel 52, Blackman 39. Franklin with a 42-28 win over Brentwood. Centennial 52, Nolensville 47. Cheatham County defeated cross-county rival Harpeth 62-53. Summit with a 65-59 win over Columbia Central. Columbia Academy 86, Middle Tennessee Christian 52. Creekwood 50, Liberty Creek 29. It was Cullioca 68, Collinwood 66. Ooh, barn burner. Davidson Academy with an 87-16 win over Mount Juliet Christian. Not a barn burner. East Nashville 85, Whites Creek 51. Clarksville Academy 75, Ezel Harding 40. Fairview with a 71-51 win over White House Heritage. Beach defeated Gallatin 47-41. Good Pasture 67, Donaldson Christian 41. It was Greenbrier 69, White House 63. Richland with a 62-17 win over Hampshire. Hillwood defeated Glencliff 77-55. Hendersonville 68, Hunters Lane 45. Joe Burns down STEM Academy, doubled them up 78-39. Hillsboro with an 87-67 win over Overton. Knowledge Academies defeated East Robertson 55-48. It was Smyrna 67, Laverne 63. Lebanon with a 50-43 win over Green Hill. Lipscomb Academy defeated Ensworth 64-55. And the Bobcats of Giles County pick up a 10-2A victory over Loretto 67-59.
Was Brentwood Academy downing Montgomery Bell Academy 65-47, and Moore County a 53-47 winner over Eagleville. Mount Juliet edges Cookeville 54-51, and Murfreesboro Central Magnet 76, Valor Collegiate 38. It was Friendship Christian 64-53 over Nashville Christian, and Oakland downs Riverdale 70-61. Page with a 64-47 win over Lincoln County, and Pearl Cone downing Republic 77-31. Christ Presbyterian with an 85-84 barn burner over Pope Prep on the boys' side. And another one as well, Providence Christian 59, Franklin Road Academy 57. It was Independence 45, Ravenwood 44. A lot of really good games last night. And speaking of Santa Fe, a 10-point winner over Wayne County, but Marshall County, a 94-88 winner over Spring Hill in not one, not two, but three overtimes, making Spring Hill's last two games totaling 5 overtimes, as they lost to Page in double overtime on Friday. So those guys really like playing extra basketball these days.
And I think they're 0-2.
Yeah, that's a struggle too.
Yeah.
That'll make you that's that UAB make you mad.
Yeah, there you go.
Station Camp 65-49 over McGavick. Summertown 66, Mount Pleasant 59. It was Charleston County 47, Merrill High 34, Lawrence County 59, Tullahoma 49, and University School of Nashville Edges Webb School 47-46.
Men's basketball action on Tuesday night. Alabama comes to Memorial Gym, gets the 78-66 win over Vanderbilt. Tennessee goes to the hump, struggles early. Twitter was not pretty.
No.
But came out with the 70-59 win over the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. And Belmont downs Murray State 80-65
in Missouri Valley play.
In Missouri Valley, in the Valley, as they call it. Yeah. NHL action: the Preds with a 2-1 win over Columbus in a makeup from back around Thanksgiving when they had water issues at Bridgestone.
Yeah.
Water issues. That's tonight's schedule. High school doubleheaders. Clarksville Northwest is at Rossview. That's a 6 o'clock start. Also at 6 o'clock over in Bell Buckle, Battleground Academy takes on the Feet and the Lady Feet in reverse order. 5:30 tonight, doubleheader action at the junior college level. Columbia State goes west to take on Dyersburg State. And as we talked about yesterday, the Cavaliers come to FedEx Forum for a 7 o'clock tip against the Memphis Grizzlies. That one can be seen on Valley Sports South. And that is your rundown.
All right, top story today. Got a lot of college football players on the move. They have loaded up and ridden out.
Load up the truck and they move to Beverly, or in at least one case, possibly.
Yeah, I guess that is possible. We'll start with the local kid.
Mm-hmm.
AD Mitchell is headed out of Georgia after.
Well, now let's not presume too much, because people do go into the transfer portal and return.
Yes, but he allegedly already has a destination.
Oh, well, I saw, I guess, Texas and USC as possible destinations. Which one of you?
I was told Texas. was the destination. But I mean,
who's going to throw it to him? I'm not sold on.
Manning?
Oh.
I
guess. But I was just going to say, I'm not sold on Quinn Ewers.
Arch's pocket presence these days not great, from what I hear. So.
or more specifically, his ID in his pocket.
Yeah. His pocket presence is not very good. He keeps dropping his ID out of it. So there's that. But no,
well, I mean, he went to Archbishop Newman. He didn't need an ID there.
It's true.
Everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody knows who he is in Austin.
They do.
Yeah. So.
But win a couple championships and go be the guy somewhere.
Go get paid somewhere.
That's right.
I mean, in this NIL world, you would like to think that he had the opportunity to maximize his opportunities at Georgia, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, what else would prompt a receiver who in his first 2 years of college has won 2 national championships to leave? It must be the money, right, Dion?
Well, I mean, thing is that I personally feel like he was underutilized at Georgia. And maybe that was a situation that, Stetson Bennett, leaned a little bit too hard on Brock Bowers and
why would you? I mean, no disrespect to AD Mitchell at all. Great receiver. But I mean, he's probably been throwing to Ladd McConkey pretty much the entire 6 years he's been there. And why would you not throw the ball to Brock Bowers?
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I would just, in terms of a passing game, you kind of I feel like, now maybe I'm wrong because I never played the game, but it just feels like a rising tide kind of lifts all boats. If you're on the opposite side of the field from Brock Bowers, you're going to have some opportunities.
Sure. I think he feels like he deserves a few more opportunities and to not be the guy opposite the guy.
Well, here's the thing, though.
And if you can be, go do it. And I feel like he has the talent to be that guy. I mean, he's came up with some big catches over the last couple of years.
He absolutely has. My question is, or my comment is, I guess, there's some advantage to not being the number one guy on the scouting report.
There is. Sure. But if you're not the number one guy on the scouting report, you're not the number one guy on the draft board either. and in the end, the goal is
to be the number one guy on the draft board.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Look, this is a guy who caught the go-ahead touchdown pass against Alabama last year, caught the game winner against Ohio State this year. He's as clutch as
he and caught 2 in a 58-point win against Texas Christian. Yes. Yeah.
who played in that game? Yeah. But good for him. I believe he's going to find a home, and it's going to be.
I believe he's going to find a home,
and I think it's going to be a positive for him in the long run.
I wonder if he gave any consideration to that Orange team.
Probably not. And again,
I wonder if he shouldn't have.
He would be in the mix with everybody else.
But would he, though?
I mean, you're talking about Brew McCoy, who is really a slot guy who's going to be your over-the-middle kind of guy. You've still got –
I mean, in terms of a guy that can take the top off.
Well, that's what Squirrel White does. That's what what's R-Key, what's his name? Ramel Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what they do. So I don't know.
You don't think you could find some balls for him?
Yeah, so could Georgia. Again, you're going somewhere where there ain't where you can't name a single receiver on the team. That's where he's going. And look,
more money, more problems, though.
Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah,
I'll be interested to see where he ends up.
I'll be interested to see where he ends up and what that receiver room looks like where he ends up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Real quick, couple of other notes.
You can't discuss the transfer portal without discussing quarterbacks.
No, and there are 3 of them who are. One of them is not in the transfer portal. One just has.
He's trying to get to it, or trying to get released from
his NLI, not his NIL.
Yeah.
His NLI issue spurred by NIL issues.
Yeah.
And that's another story for another day, one that we don't have time to get into. But Florida 5-star quarterback Jaden Rashada will be hoping to get out of his contract to play for the Florida Gators and essentially making Wisconsin transfer quarterback Graham Mertz the starting quarterback for Florida next year, which oof. And then LSU's Walker Howard, Zach Goodall tweets that Walker Howard could have been a fix to the Jaden Rashada situation at Florida, but now his transfer to Ole Miss means the Gators' spring quarterback room has taken shape. And here's the thing. Walker Howard has been courted by Billy Napier since he was at Louisiana. I mean, this is a guy that Billy Napier really wanted, and he ends up going to Ole Miss. So I don't know what that tells you.
And Ole Miss has a spot because, and we didn't talk about it a couple of weeks ago, I don't think, but Luke Altmaier went to Illinois
is out
to play for Burt.
So, old Burt.
Yeah.
But hey, there's another quarterback out there if Florida's looking for one. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, and he's played in the SEC before. And that is Colorado quarterback transfer JT Shrout, former Vol. He's out there. He's got a couple of years. I'm just saying.
He's got experience.
He's got experience playing in the SEC.
Gracious. This guy signed with UT in 2018.
That's insane.
And he has a grad transfer with supposedly 2 years of eligibility. So if he plays in 24, he will have been on a college campus for 7 years.
That's a long time.
Why? Why would you want to?
Well, if you can get a little money on the NIL side, then sure.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely not going to play in the NFL, right? I mean, he's going to end up, some indoor league or USFL, XFL type stuff. I mean, he's just not he's not a high-level quarterback right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he goes somewhere where there's some help. Maybe he gets there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess.
Anyway, but yeah, so that's your top story: college football players on the move, et cetera, et cetera. We will take a break because Heather Williams is standing by to talk a little NASCAR right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here with you on this Hump Day edition. It is Wednesday. And we welcome back our normal Wednesday guest as we are just under 3 weeks away from the NASCAR Clash at the Coliseum, year number 2, and Wiz Khalifa concert. Heather Williams joins us now to talk a little NASCAR. Heather, what's up?
Well, first of all, I have a bone to pick with you, Chris. I heard that you were talking some smack about my Missouri State Bears during my hiatus from the show.
I said nothing of the sort. I just said that, they weren't very good at football before Bobby Petrino got there. And that is a fact. That is not smack.
Oh, no, that's an understatement. They were the last time that they made the playoffs was the year before my freshman year in college, which was 1990. Was the last time they made the playoffs before Petrino was there. He was a miracle worker in Springfield.
So that's all I said, was that they weren't very good before he got there.
Yeah, and they're not going to be very good now because apparently their answer to 30 years of futility on the football field is to hire Petrino's son-in-law as the next head coach. So
I will say this. Up until 2 years ago, one of the guys that I grew up with and one of my best friends in the world when I was a kid actually was an assistant men's basketball coach at Missouri State. And then he left and came to Samford for a year and then actually loved Springfield so much that he went back to not coach, but just be a trainer in the area for basketball, a basketball trainer in the area, teaching kids in camps and stuff like that. He loved the area so much that he left his hometown of Birmingham to go back to Missouri State and be a part of that program. So that's a pretty big statement to me.
Well, I mean, the basketball's got an incredible history and great support from the community. The last few years notwithstanding. Actually, it's been close to 20 now since they were really super relevant, but still lots of supports from the community. The same as cannot be said for the football. And the women's basketball is really where it's at in Springfield. Multiple Sweet 16s. Obviously, that's where Kelly was before she went to UT. Couple Final Fours in the history. That's really where the Bears hang their hat, is on the women's program.
That said, Heather, did you note the Tennessee-Georgia women's game this weekend that featured Kelly Jolly Harper and Katie Abramson Henderson?
I did. Both? I did. Both former coaches. I mean, that's that's what I'm talking about. I mean, it's really. I mean, you look at the players and the coaches and who's come through Springfield. It's a pretty. You would be surprised when it comes to mid-major women's basketball just how good Missouri State. Back to their days when they were Southwest Missouri State. My freshman year, they went to the Final Four. Back at the time where mid-majors did not go to Final Fours in any sport, let alone women's basketball. I mean, I think the other three teams that were out there were Tennessee, Stanford, and Western Kentucky, which was a women's basketball powerhouse at the time. And for them to do that from Springfield was pretty incredible, and really kind of the start. That group was the start of really building that program into what it is now.
Heather, as we look ahead to the world of NASCAR, I read a story probably yesterday about the sponsorship of Kyle Busch's number 8 Richard Childress car is, quote, nearly sold out. And for years, Joe Gibbs was saying that they couldn't get anybody to sponsor Kyle. What's the deal there? Is this just because Richard Childress is a different animal, or what?
Yeah, it probably has a lot to do with different sponsorship models and how much money they're asking and those kinds of things. I mean, the model over at Joe Gibbs Racing has really been big major sponsors for the cars, and then maybe that sponsor big blocks of 18 to 20 races, and then filling those in with associate sponsors or whatever on as main race sponsors. You look at Denny Hamlin. I mean, how many times has Denny Hamlin run a paint scheme that's not FedEx? Martin Truex Jr. has like 2 or 3 major sponsors in Bass Pro and auto insurers. Those are probably the big 2. And the same thing with the, forever with Kyle. And so I think it's just the difference in the way they do models. Also, he already had that 8 car already had some existing sponsors that were already locked down to the car, not to the driver, that are locked into Richard Childress Racing. So those spots are already taken. They're not going out and seeking those. So I think it's a combination of those things as to why this is being filled in. But I mean, let's be honest. Why are we even talking about a 2-time champ that is almost sold out? I mean, shouldn't he be completely sold out?
Yeah, one would think. I mean, and that was that you answered my next question is, how much importance is the number 8 to that scenario? And, obviously with its history, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, they already had some sponsors in place that were there no matter who was in the car next year. So It wasn't like they were like begging people to sponsor Kyle Busch. I mean, for lack of a better way of describing it, these folks don't have any choice but to sponsor him, at least for the coming season, because they were already locked in.
That makes sense. I just thought that was interesting because, again, there are a lot of folks who are questioning, well, is Joe Gibbs Racing on the downslide? And obviously with Ty coming up, and I don't think that's necessarily the case.
But Ty has a full sponsor. Now it's a sponsor he's brought with him, but he has pretty much full sponsorship already, and Monster is going to sponsor the majority of his races. So, I mean, it's not like they can't find sponsors. The 19, the 20, the 11 are all fully sponsored. So I think that this is going to be good for everybody, just in the sense that Kyle's going to have a chance to kind of reinvent himself, and all older drivers go through this. Kevin Harvick certainly has gone through it as he's gotten into the twilight of his career as more of an elder statesman and less of a black hat. And I think that black hat reputation kind of made it a little bit hard for certain companies. Some companies love that. I mean, Goodwrench always loved Senior as the black hat. You know, their company logo was black, and it was just kind of, it all fit. But for a guy that was sponsored by a candy company, I mean, that's probably not the guy you want as your guy. So, you know, I think this is a good just reinvention, rebirth for Kyle in the sport.
That's interesting. You're right. It's a little different. It makes a lot of sense, especially when when your commercials are two pieces of candy, yakking it up with one another. So I don't know that.
Yeah,
makes
but
a whole
they
lot of
also
sense.
do eat each other, so it's a little
That's
weird.
true. That's true. It is awkward. And speaking of awkward, it was announced yesterday or maybe day before that at the Clash, they're going to have medals presented.
Yeah, to the top 3 finishers.
To the the Olympics or
just
whatever.
like the Olympics. Yeah, I saw that last night. I think it was. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, except unless you win and you move the guy in front of you ahead, and now he's got to stand next to you on the podium. How awkward's that going to be?
Hey.
Well, I mean, podium finishes are not foreign to the motor racing. In fact, NASCAR is really the only motorsport that doesn't do podium finishes, right? I mean, F1 and IndyCar, they have their top 3 guys up there on the podium. Of course, there's not the bumping and the moving in F1 or IndyCar. You'd be kicked out of the race if you did that in those series. But I mean, let's face it, it's awkward anyway, right? I mean, if somebody's really mad, they're coming into victory lane and they're yelling at you anyway. So it's not like those confrontations wouldn't happen. I just think it's kind of weird just because I mean, I guess it's kind of got the tie into the Olympics or whatever, but I don't know. I find it kind of strange, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm usually for trying new stuff, but I just find this one a little weird.
It is the Olympics, and I get it. I mean, they've held the Olympics twice at the Coliseum, and that's all it's about. But it is just kind of like, okay, but why?
Yeah,
again,
basically, but why?
Like it's
y'all just a couple of spoil sports. That's all.
It's just gonna be weird if I move the guy ahead of me, and I win, and he finishes second. And he's mad at me, and we're standing on the podium, and he's getting a silver medal, and I get a gold one, and he punches me in the face. Mm-hmm. But also,
actually, that might make it better. That might make it better than if they're all happy and hugging and getting their medals.
Keep your head on a swivel. That's all I got.
Hey, NASCAR's looking for ratings anyway. Hence Wiz Khalifa.
Boom. Hence Wiz Khalifa. Yeah. Heather, did you ever think you'd see the day where Wiz Khalifa and NASCAR would be mentioned in the same breath?
I mean, yes, I'm not that surprised because NASCAR is getting a pretty decent hip hop following, thanks to the expansion of Pitbull and Michael Jordan and some of these more diverse teams and drivers into the sport. When I went to Atlanta, the pre-race concert was Nelly. No, it was not Nelly. It was somebody. Nelly was Charlotte. It was somebody from Atlanta. Now I can't remember. It was a rapper.
Well, there's only like 100 million of those in Atlanta.
I know,
but
it
I assume
really
you mean
matter.
someone big like Big Boy or Ludacris or someone like that. I don't know.
It was somebody big. It was definitely somebody big. But in any event, it was not just him. There were lots of rappers in the pit area and lots of hip hop artists and lots of folks from the hip hop culture that were on pit road. They were mostly, I'll be honest with you, that gravitating towards Bubba. Kind of their safe space at NASCAR, but but it's definitely a growing thing. I mean, I think Pitbull he did the Daytona 500 before he was an owner, maybe 2 years before he became an owner, and I think that really kind of opened the door. And I think Nelly's been involved in some racing for a while. I think that's opened the door for other hip hop artists to dip their toe in the right markets. Right, because it's not going to work in every market. You're not, marching some of those folks out there, even here in Bristol, right? I don't know that works, or in Talladega, but in Atlanta and Charlotte and LA, it makes sense. St. Louis, those kind of connections make sense because that's the culture and that's the scene of the area.
We could have Yellow Wolf at Talladega. He's from Alabama. I think that he might be the only one that would be available. I don't know. It would be a very, very short list of folks available. A couple of quick things. Number one, you mentioned Kevin Harvick earlier in the twilight of his career. This is his victory lap, as one might call it. But also, he mentioned that he will be driving SRX this summer.
Yeah, how about that SRX lineup? They've been actually announced Kevin Harvick's going to run a couple races. Kyle Busch is going to run a couple races. Clip Boyer is going to run a couple races. It's going to be fun, some of the drivers that they have, which is cool. I mean, why not get all these guys in there that are recognizable? And obviously, all three of those guys at some point were a teammate of Tony's. So it makes sense that they would come race in his series. But I think SRX is great, and I think it's perfect, and it's just the perfect length because 6 races, they can get these guys kind of dip their toe in the pool and get Elio from IndyCar and Tony Kanaan, and you got the Haley Deegan coming there every once in a while. Over the summer, just it's going to be the Thursday Night Thunder again on ESPN. But I wouldn't want to see it be anything more because I think that it would become oversaturated. It would take the coolness factor away from it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a big, I liked the way they did it last year. I think it worked. I think it's going to work this year. And hopefully they will continue to make it work because SRX is a solid series. It's a lot of fun. And the way that, that they kind of put the races together, it's kind of made for today's viewing audience.
Well, and I think it's great the way that they're always bringing new drivers in, right? It's not ever the same guys. I mean, the first year, it was a lot of old school guys, Bobby Labonte and Michael Waltrip, and then some of those guys hung around, but then they brought in, Tony Kanaan and Elio. And then this year they're bringing in Clint, and they're bringing in Kevin, and they're bringing in Kyle. Ryan Blaney's running it. Chase Elliott's running it. Like, it's just always something different every time to make you want to go back every year. Because if they run some of the tracks the same, they change the tracks around too, but it's just always making you want to see it and want more because it's always different.
And finally, before we get out of here, it was announced that 2311 Racing will put a third car in the Daytona 500 wearing the number 67. Will be action sports star Travis Pastrana. Now, is that weird or not?
No, Travis has tried his hand at stock car racing before. I think this is a bucket list thing for him, and I don't think that it's any different than Kyle Larson wanting to run the Indy 500 or Kyle Busch wanting to run the Indy 500. This is one of the biggest races of all time, and if you're a racer, no matter what discipline you're in, wanting to run it, wanting to try it is a bucket list item. So, back in the day, guys used to cross over into NASCAR and run, especially the 500 all the time. You think about all the IndyCar guys that have dipped their toe in the Indy 500 water and given it a try. So no, I mean, I think it makes perfect sense for Travis to want to do this and to want to try his hand to see how it works out. I don't think he's chasing any kind of full-time Cup Series career. I just think it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities that he wanted to try to take a stab at.
Well, I love it. I loved when, the Andretti's were, in stock car racing for a little while. And, anytime you're able to get some of the best drivers in the world, I think it's important to watch folks who are successful driving other cars, trying their hands at something different. And how do they match up with the guys who do it on an everyday basis? I think it's phenomenal, and it's intriguing to watch. So I'm excited. I think the 500 is going to be great. I think the Clash is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it also shows just how hard this is, no matter what discipline you're in, right? This is hard. I mean, not many IndyCar drivers have had success crossing over into the Cup Series. You know, you go back to, there was a race, a Supercross race. They had like a all-star division a few years ago. I remember Clint Boyer was in it. I think maybe Stenhouse was in it. And Clint Boyer ran smack. Clint Boyer actually started racing motorcycles, okay, and bicycles. He was a dirt racer. He ran smack into the tire barrier I thought it was the day before Atlanta. I thought, oh gosh, my Lord, Clint Boyer's not going to be able to run Atlanta because he just hurt himself this motocross race. But I think it just shows how hard these disciplines are and how these are the very best of the best. I mean, if Travis pressed on, then he has the talent to jump in and run at the front of this. What is the likelihood that he'll do it? Not very high, but you never know, you know, because there are those guys like Mario that were able to be successful in whatever car. Tony Stewart, you know, he was an IndyCar champ before he was in the Cup Series, but it's really hard to cross over. And I think it helps people appreciate how difficult motorsports are and how different the different disciplines are. I think they get lumped into a big pile sometimes, and they're not alike at all.
So what you're saying is racing's not racing. It's
No. I mean, it's the difference between high school, college, and pro football. Actually, that's probably not a great example, but the difference between high school, college, and pro basketball, right? Those are three completely different games when you watch them. They don't even look the same when you watch them, and that's kind of the same with motorsports.
Do you feel like NASCAR is the harder?
No, I don't think you can qualify a harder. They're just all different.
Okay.
I mean, I think, you know, obviously the Cup Series is the most difficult of the stock car division of racing. But I mean, IndyCar driver. I mean, there have been lots of stock car drivers that have tried the double, and I think the only two that did it with any kind of decent success were Tony and Kurt Busch. You know, a lot of NASCAR drivers have jumped to the dirt cars and haven't been particularly good at it, okay at it, but not running up front with the big boys. And, you know, Tony Stewart's now going to jump behind. He's been jumping behind the wheel of a NHRA dragster. So we'll see how difficult that transition is or how different that discipline is. I know that Ron Capps ran some IROC back in the day, and you know, he was okay at it, but he definitely wasn't the dominant car when he was out there, where he definitely is one of the dominant cars when he's in a dragster. So it's just they're just different. They're so different.
Right.
Heather, is always a pleasure. That was a lot of catching up to do, but again, we're about 18 days away from the Clash at the Coliseum. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll catch up with you before then.
Our next visit will definitely be closer to this one than some of the last ones, I guess, like maybe next week. So
okay, well, I'm going to the NASCAR Hall of Fame this weekend because Bristol native Mike Helton is one of he's not going into the Hall of Fame. He's the landmark award winner, so he's in the hall, but he's not in the hall. But so anyway, I'm going down there to cover that this week.
Enjoy. That's always a good trip, and the Hall of Fame induction ceremony is always fun. So,
yep. We'll see you guys later.
We'll see you.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, college baseball and a little bit of basketball. Last night we told you Tennessee and Vanderbilt both played. We may we'll touch on that as well. And the top 25 polls for baseball, college baseball, have been released, so we'll get into that as well. Stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joints. Back after this.
This is Chris Yow with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best-looking girl, Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
We'll see you at Bridgestone Arena. You won't see me.
Are you steering clear?
Steering clear. Every time I go, bad things happen.
I don't go.
So I don't go.
There you go.
Not because I don't want to.
Because you can't.
Because I can't. Because I am a superstitious fan. I'm really not superstitious.
Just a little.
Just a little stitious.
We were talking off air prior to the start of the show about Brett Mayer?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure. I would pronounce it Mayer, but I've heard it pronounced other ways, so I'm not sure.
It for a specific reason.
Exactly.
Though.
Yes. But and whether or not the Cowboys were locked into him for the duration of the postseason, and I'm not sure how transactions work, how rosters work for the postseason, but at Clarence Hill Jr., who covers the Cowboys and has done so since 1997 for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, tweeted 3 minutes ago, Tristan Vizcaíno kicked in 3 games this season for the New England Patriots and Arizona Cardinals. He went 2 for 2 on field goals and 3 for 3 on extra points. He played in 6 games with the LA Chargers last season and was 10 of 15 extra points. # Dallas Cowboys. So I can't figure exactly the context of that post, but I don't know if Vizcaíno was in a tryout today at Jerry's World,
or if this guy was just,
or if he's just trying to help out the scouting and personnel department. But
I love this video. You're missing those gimme putts.
But Mayer was 1 for 5 in that 31-14 win
he's
over
on a
the
roll,
Bucs.
though. He's on a hot streak.
He is. He has 1 for his last one.
1 for his last one.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I mentioned, I started to put a poll question out on Twitter Monday night. Who's having the worst night, Brett Mayer or Tom Brady? Because, I mean,
the Cowboys won.
At least Mayer's team won.
Mayer had an opportunity to suck.
He had 5 opportunities actually.
He's just a kicker.
Yeah. So
he only gets a chance to suck if the rest of his team is good.
Yep. So I'm a complimentary piece.
That's right.
I mean, he wasn't very complimentary, and they weren't very complimentary of him. But he's just a compliment. He's like gravy on the potatoes.
Oh man.
As opposed to Brady.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
The top 25 poll from D1 Baseball was put out yesterday, and you can see it there on your screen. LSU, number 1 in the land. As we all know, the last number 1 team to go post to wire was 1999's Miami Hurricanes. So bad news for the former Summit standout Blake Money.
Yeah, hate it for you, LSU. Yeah, the kiss of death right there.
Tennessee sits at number 2, along with, you said 7, right? You count them
7 in the top 10
the top
from the
10 teams in
Southeastern
the country.
Conference. Hashtag it just means more.
Ole Miss, A&M, Florida, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt joined LSU and Tennessee in the top 10. Vanderbilt 10th in the country. I thought the most interesting name on this list, though, Mo, is number 20, Alabama. And I mentioned it yesterday. They finished 6th in the West last year. Auburn, who has made 2 of the last 3 College World Series, unranked. So
I don't know what to tell you.
I can't. I don't know, but I thought this was an interesting list here. When you look at the rest of it, I mean, again, Alabama and South Carolina in the top 25 as well, which means there are 9 of 13.
14.
There's 13 softball teams. So Vanderbilt does not play softball yet. It may not, but still 9. Heck, there's barely 9 teams that make the conference tournament.
What's crazy is you're looking at Vanderbilt 10th in the country, 7th in the SEC, if this holds up. So
it's wild.
It's kind of crazy.
As much as we talk about the SEC being a dominant football conference, baseball may be their most dominant sport. And they don't win all the national championships like they do in football.
But they certainly have a say in who does.
But they are right there in every. I mean, College World Series is always.
I mean, you've almost got an SEC bracket in Omaha.
Last year they did, and it's. I mean, it's nuts how dominant the Southeastern Conference has been, and for a long, long time. I mean, we're talking about into the late 80s, early 90s, back when Mississippi State was
and LSU
was throwing out, Rafael Palmeiros and
and Jeff Brantley's and Will Clark's and
back to that Auburn
Bobby
team that
Thigpens
had,
and
Jackson and Thomas on it. It's interesting to go back and look at how
when Tim Hudson was making all SEC as a pitcher and an outfielder.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, good times.
So I'm looking forward to this season because a lot of folks saying that despite losing some solid pitching, Tennessee may actually be better this year. I mean, you still got
Tony V has done a great job up there of really increasing the talent level and being able to keep a lot of those guys around, including redshirt freshman Kavaris Tears from here in Columbia.
Hopefully we'll see a little bit of him in the near future.
Hopefully we'll see a lot of him.
So I'm excited for this baseball season. Obviously, Vanderbilt is a lot of fun to watch. Tim Corbin has done a fantastic job over on the West End, and they are a power year in and year out. And you don't win the SEC without Vanderbilt having a say so, and that's important.
Yeah, I mean, either Vanderbilt's going to win it or you're going to beat Vanderbilt to win it, basically. And
it used to be that, LSU was that way for a long time, and they still kind of are. I mean, the road to the SEC championship certainly goes through Baton Rouge at some point. And, we have a quasi-rooting interest for the Tigers. Again, Blake Money, who is a former Summit standout, is playing for LSU, and we certainly want him to succeed. But
I'm excited to see Trey Morgan, the first baseman for LSU. He's a fun kid to watch. He's a heck of a player, and you know how we talk about college sports are better when certain programs are good. I think college baseball and LSU are kind of in that mode. I think college baseball is better when LSU is a factor on the national level. It's just with their tradition from Skip Bertman and those guys, and like you said, what that program has done over the long period of time. They've been really impactful, and it's fun to see them and to see Alex Box rocking on a weekend and that kind of thing. So SEC baseball is right around the corner. It's crazy.
Now, the D1 rankings are, to me, the most accurate. I think those are the guys that really pay attention to baseball more
so than Baseball America.
Yeah. I mean, just because Baseball America is, and they've got great folks who work at the college level, but they focus a lot on pro baseball, and D1 baseball is nothing but college baseball. So, I'm excited to see how this season turns out. I mean, obviously Tennessee not making it to Omaha last year was a really kind of a gut punch.
Mm-hmm.
So you hope that, after all the success that Tennessee had last year and the year before, that they'd be able to build on that and find their way back to Omaha. This team's a lot of fun to watch. If you're a baseball fan, I don't know. If you want to have a good time at a baseball game, go watch the Tennessee Volunteers or the Savannah Bananas. You're bound to have a good time at either of those. So, real quick, Tennessee basketball, like you said, did not start out well. 10 points in the first. What did I say?
It was 19-10 at one point.
Points. It was. With under 7 minutes to go, it was 19-10 Mississippi State.
And folks were just dog cussing Zakai Ziegler on social media. I was at a wrestling match last night trying to keep up, and oh my God.
It was just like Saturday just rolled right over for Zakai.
Never mind that Tennessee was playing without Vescovy and without Tyreek Key.
Mm-hmm. They had two starters out. And Zakai, instead of getting in his head and saying, here we go again, the kid did not come out of the basketball game. He played 40 minutes of the basketball game.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, though. That's a credit to Rick Barnes as much as anything.
Listen, you're our guy. Go be our guy. And
eventually he was.
Zakai took over. 24 points later, he looks like the guy that you expect him to be coming into the year. And listen, the Hump is not a place that you can just go in and win easily.
No, it's not. I mean,
especially if you get down early.
Yeah, Mississippi State is not a bad basketball team.
No, they are not a bad basketball team. They're a very solid basketball team, actually. I thought,
and you go in there without two starters, basically. I mean, Vescovy does start. I think Key starts, does he not? If he doesn't, he's starters. Yeah. So I don't know what people were necessarily expecting, but in addition to a career high 24 points and a career high 6 rebounds from Ziegler, Tennessee got 18 points from Julian Phillips and 13 from JoJo James. And
Julian Phillips kind of was the X factor. He was the guy that you didn't necessarily expect to come in and give you what you got, and he was able to be a massive part of that win. I mean, they don't win the game if he doesn't give you 18 points. And, finally the 3 ball starts falling, and next thing you know, it's, Mississippi State's on their heels.
Yeah, Ziegler, James, and Kamwa each knocked down threes to make it a 9-point game for Tennessee just inside the 3-minute mark. So this team has been tested, if nothing else.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's a heck of a picture right there. I like that shorthanded victory, and it was shorthanded. So you got to feel like that coming off of the loss to Kentucky, not having two of your best players, going into a hostile road environment in the SEC against a pretty good team, coming out victorious. That's what a top 10 team does.
Well, you hope so, because they got to do it again Saturday in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, LSU maybe doesn't present near the issues that other teams do. A lot of folks thought, LSU's undefeated and 15-0 or whatever they were at one point, and I think they're 1-5 in the SEC since. It's not been a great start to SEC play for the Tigers, but they'll be looking to bounce back at home, and that's the thing. You got to make sure that you still some road wins in the SEC.
Yeah, especially after the home loss Saturday.
Exactly.
You got to pick up a couple on the road to kind of try to offset that a little bit.
And Vanderbilt last night. Here's the thing. Vanderbilt lost to Alabama, top 5 team in the country, great basketball team. Probably should have won the game. If they shoot decent, they win the game. They were 3 of 30 plus from behind the 3-point line. Just couldn't knock it down. I mean, if they shoot at all what they would normally shoot from the 3-point line, they win the game. And obviously, there's a great shot of Brandon Miller in Nashville, but good job to Alabama for obviously dealing with all the distractions they had to deal with over the last couple of days to come in on the road, get a win in SEC play against a team that, let's face it, is surging. I mean, they're on an upward trend right now. So tough loss for Vanderbilt, but you got to again. If you're a Vanderbilt fan, you have to look at that game and go, we just didn't knock down shots. If we knock down normal amount of shots, we win the game. So
at some point, though, if you're Vanderbilt, you have to get tired of talking about if we'd done this, that, or the other.
Got to have some scores. They don't have a lot of them. So I'll be interested to see how Stack, takes this and moves forward. But speaking of moving forward, Mo, we'll move the show forward because as I am wearing my Titan blue today, because I feel like the Titans got a win yesterday. They have a new general manager. We'll talk about it with TERESA Walker right after this on the Main Street Sports Today. So stick around.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here. It's again Wednesday, Wild and Wacky Wednesday, the weirdest and wildest news from across the world coming your way here in just a moment. But not so weird news first, as the Tennessee Titans have officially named a general manager, which means one checkbox ticked. And
got a few more.
A couple more to go at least. But Rand Carthen is the new GM for the Tennessee Titans, a former Colt. For those of you who are worried about that sort of thing, I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but he comes to us from the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm interested to hear what TERESA Walker has to say on the subject. So we welcome her in now, the TSWA Hall of Famer, TERESA Walker. How are you?
Well, I'll just say this. Talk about things escalating quickly. I mean, yesterday they sent out an email and say, we have finished an interview with Malik Boyd. And, I write something up, and then I knew that traffic was horrific heading into Nashville. So I was, doing my prep because I covered, Vanderbilt and Alabama last night. So I'm going through getting stuff done. I had some folks working on my bathroom, and and then suddenly somebody says, hey, did you see this? And I'm like, yes. If you heard somebody scream, that was me. So, immediately flipped to, it's a good thing that I had started preparation, and I had stories, in background, and had done my notes, gone through the game notes for last night's game. And then it was like, because, for the way the Titans didn't announce that till this morning, right? So it's like I had to find a source, confirm it. And, the way we do it is, yes, I actually have to call an editor, tell them what my source is, how they know. And it can't be that somebody's cousin told somebody's brother-in-law. No, our standard is first-hand knowledge. So I get that source cleared. I write the story. I get the story filed. And then it's like, wait a minute, this is a minority candidate. And, so that, I have to write through the story because it's the first in franchise history. He's the 14th general manager for a franchise that was founded in 1960 in, an original AFL team, right? And it's, the NFL made a big thing. They had two what they call accelerator programs for head coaching and front office positions. And guess what? Ran Carthon went to one. He went to the one that was held in late May last year as part of the spring owner meetings. He did not attend the one that was held in the winter December meetings. The Titans actually sent Brian Gardner, one of their people, to both of those sessions. Derrick Henry, Tony Duz's, his coach, he went to the May session, to get, owners on a, face-to-face, in-person, session to meet some of these people who could and help improve the minority numbers. So the hiring of Ran Carthon brings the NFL now up to 9 of their 32 GMs are now minorities. And he is the 6th minority in the last 8 hired. So now Monty Ossenfort, who interviewed for the Titans job, was with the Titans in player personnel. He actually took the Arizona job on Monday. He's one of the 2 non-minority candidates. And I'm trying to think, so I'm coordinating, I'm double checking with a couple of my colleagues. Okay, how many, who, what, where, and then getting that context into the story. And then it's like, okay, we good? I have to head to Nashville. And Waze was telling me it's an hour. Guys, I got inside of Memorial. Well, let's put it this way. I was listening to Kevin Ingram on the call, and I get into Memorial way up high, and suddenly it's I got there in time for, let's just say, in time to see Vanderbilt take their only lead, 22-21. And then Alabama took over. And I heard you before, before the break. You're absolutely right. If they make some shots, then they got it within single digits late. They had a 13-2 run, getting a chance to get into position to have maybe the closest call against the Tide that anyone has had in the SEC, except They didn't make shots. Now, here's the problem. They didn't have Liam Robbins. Huge loss. Okay. I mean, he scored double digits in the second half to help them beat Arkansas on Saturday. You know, he's a block machine for them. I mean, he's a big post presence. And, you know, and then they didn't find out until Tuesday morning that he wasn't going to be available. They did a MRI late Monday night and found out that he's not going to be available for this game. And that's the problem, you know. So, you know, they didn't have any time to really practice. You know, they had shoot around, but, you know, you can't lose a player like Liam Robbins and then, oh yeah, go play the number 4 team in the country and click on all cylinders. And guys, Alabama's good. There's a reason they're projected as the number 1 seed right now, because they are fast. They shoot well. Brandon Miller, 30 and 10. He is all that. Okay. And, you know, and then, you know, think about this, you know, Nate, they didn't make any of the Alabama players available after the game. You know, if you've been paying attention, yes, you know, Darius Miles charged Sunday with capital murder. And there was a report yesterday that he gave the gun to the person who did the shooting. Nate Oates said after the game, they didn't make any of the Alabama players available after the game. And Nate Oates said in a Zoom, you know, he didn't even take questions in person. He did it via Zoom, that, you know, he had reached out to Ray Lewis, you know, the Pro Football Hall of Famer. His daughter finished up, you know, she attended Alabama and just finished, you know, and she, you know, he said that she finished up within the last year or so, but, you know, having been on that campus, she was shook. And, you know, so he got some advice from Ray, got a Bible verse, you know, prayed, but they had to go play a game. And, you know, Jerry Stackhouse, I'm going to credit Gentry Estes with, you know, for asking, you know, the tough question, you know, playing that game. I mean, Jerry Stackhouse kind of crumpled up, you know, now granted, it was an ugly loss, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know, he's facing a lot of pressure to win more at Vanderbilt, his 4th season. We get that. But, you know, he pointed out, they played against Darius Miles. They played against that young man, and they understand that he's you know, and Stackhouse said that, you know, he crumpled up the, you know, the stat sheet. He goes, this game, you know, really doesn't mean anything. There's a woman dead, you know, a 5-year-old has no mother, you know, and some, you know, they got to go play a game that, you know, Miles probably will never, ever have that opportunity again, because of what happened on Sunday. And, you know, and he said that he couldn't even fathom that they played that game last night. So, you know, he toned down his pregame speech. You know, he said, it's like, let's just go concentrate on just playing a game. And for Alabama, Nate Oates said he didn't see much emotion before that game, but after, yeah, I mean, you know, think about what this team has been through. You know, they announced Saturday that Miles was going to be out for the rest of the year with an ankle injury. And then this happens hours later. I mean, it's stunning. And these are young people. And I you know, I don't know if I don't think there's anything in life that can truly prepare you for, as a coach, as players, or as people, to deal with what they've had to deal with. And then, oh yeah, let's go play a game.
You know, Teresa, Chris and I kind of talked about that yesterday, and we were kind of at a loss just in terms of talking about that entire situation, because I mean, it is just so heavy, and you know, we're not used to dealing with that type of stuff. I mean, we are about wins and losses and firings and hirings and that kind of thing. That deal in Tuscaloosa was, you know, above our pay grade, basically. And, you know, kudos to Coach Stackhouse for, you know, verbalizing those thoughts last night, because I can see, not just for Alabama, but for Vanderbilt as well. I mean, again, they were familiar with that young man, and playing that game had to be surely not as hard as it was for Alabama, but I'm sure it was quite hard for the Commodores as well. So, you know, I get that. We're speaking with Teresa Walker of the Associated Press here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Teresa, as word started to get out last night about Rand Carthon, excuse me.
Carthon.
Carthon. Yeah, there we go.
I thought you were from Boston for a second. You didn't have any extra eyes.
Yeah. The new general manager of the Tennessee Titans, and one of his bona fides is apparently he was the guy standing on the table in the 49ers front office trying to bring in Jawan Jennings, who a lot of people around here are familiar with. He was also instrumental in bringing former Middle Tennessee State cornerback Charvarius Ward into that organization, who recently signed a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Niners. So, and he apparently has a nose for talent. And I guess that's not necessarily out of the ordinary in that position, but it seems like he has been able to unearth some guys that didn't necessarily come ready-made, as Bobby Johnson would say when he was at Vanderbilt.
Well, give him credit also for George Kittle, one of the preeminent tight ends right now in this game. The guy who has his tight end U at Vanderbilt or in Nashville for the past 3 years. And I'm trying to think of another late round guy that he found, but I mean, he's been a part. And here's the thing, it's ridiculous. He's ridiculously young. He doesn't turn 42 until next month. So it's like, talk about making you feel very, very old right now. But yeah, the fact that he was born when I was finishing up high school, I'm going to need some WD-40. But this is a guy that has been studying, I'm trying to think, who is the Vanderbilt DB who also, he was a huge draft guru guy studying.
Oh, Corey Chavis.
Thank you, Corey Chavis. That's what Rand has been doing his entire life. His dad played in the NFL, coached for 7 different teams in the NFL. He'd been studying draft guides since he was a kid, trying to figure out, and predict which teams would take which players. So, while he may be young, he's been training for this all his life. And, the exposure, he was, an undrafted running back out of Florida, and yes, won an SEC championship there with the Gators. And apparently, I love the story, apparently, that he always kept trying to bet with Peyton, and Peyton wouldn't do that. No wonder, considering Peyton never beat Florida when he was actually on the field with the Vols. So he's got a competitive spirit there. But, he was at the Colts when Bill Polian was putting things together there. He worked at the Rams, both in St. Louis and in LA. And, when Les Snead is, putting things together, and then he's been with John Lynch at San Francisco. So, he's been around some people who put together some competitive rosters, and, he's been exposed to a lot of different, you can't label him as a guy, right? Ian Cunningham, who they interviewed, you almost could have said, well, he was he was an Ozzie Newsome guy, because, that's where he really kind of got his start, was in Baltimore under Ozzie Newsome with the Ravens. Well, Rand has been exposed to a lot. And, he started as a scout when he got into the business, and he's worked his way up. And, and so his connections and his eye for talent, and he seems to have, from everything that my colleague Josh Dubow in California tells me, he seems to have just, that exactly what they're looking for. Somebody who, and Miss Amy made it very clear. She wants collaboration. GM does his job. Mike Vrabel as head coach does his job. And now they've got that GM. And look, the tentative introduction is set for Friday, because, they host Dallas on Sunday night. This is a team that is in the divisional round, that has had playoff success. I covered the Niners in Miami at the Super Bowl in January 2020, a painful memory for Titan fans, because that's the year they came up short in Kansas City to the Chiefs, the last time they made an AFC championship game. So, he's helped put together rosters. And, the Niners found a way to keep their wide receiver, who, I mean, let's face it, Debo made it seem like he wanted out of San Francisco, and they found a way to get a deal done and make him happy. So, I trust me, can't wait till we get a chance to start asking him questions, because I know we all have a bunch, because the Titans have satisfied one thing. Now we want to know quarterback, Derrick Henry, restocking this roster, creating salary cap space. And then, oh yeah, Mike Vrabel, there's the reports that he's asked to interview Eric Bieniemy. The Chiefs are playing this weekend. Matt Nagy, who's with the Chiefs again, now that, the Bears fired him. So, they've got, and shoot, Jim Schwartz was, announced today as the new coordinator of the defense back in Cleveland. So, does Mike Vrabel want to bring in another senior defensive assistant, or has Shane Bowen learned enough from Schwartz over the last 2 years that that's not a position he feels the need to fill? So, yes, we got lots of questions, so can't wait for Friday.
Teresa, do you think that hiring a GM obviously was more important than the offensive coordinator, because you need to hire an offensive coordinator based on what your GM's good at? Or okay, I mean, it seems obvious, but that it doesn't always happen that way for some reason.
Well, think about this. If you were to hire an offensive coordinator first without hiring a GM, the GM's the guy who has to go buy the groceries,
right?
To flash back to a Bill Parcells phrase, right? And this franchise has a lot of questions. Do they extend Ryan Tannehill? Did Rand like Trey Lance so much that maybe he tries to find a way to bring him or Jimmy G to Nashville? I mean,
did you see Trey Lance's IG? With his fingers crossed?
I heard of it. I did not see it.
It's right there on your screen.
Exactly. Thank you. I had heard about it, hadn't had a chance to see it, because guess what? They announced it early this morning, and before, they confirmed the hiring before I'd had a chance to have coffee this morning, guys. So it's like, it's been a busy day, busy week, busy. Yeah. So, how can you hire an offensive coordinator until you know what the GM is going to do, who the GM is, what his thoughts are? And here's the thing: this has got to be this. I can't imagine Rand Carthon comes in and says, "We're doing it this way." Miss Amy made it very clear when I talked to her last month that she wants collaboration. Burke Nihill and, a bunch of the front office people were involved in the search committee. Mike Vrabel was to be involved in the second round. And it sounds like, there were some interviews there on the, Sunday, Monday portion which is interesting because I was kind of, that's the fun thing. They confirmed their first set of interviews. They didn't say anything about the second round. That was think about it. The first formal interviews were last Thursday. And by Tuesday afternoon, they got their guy. So what that tells me is that Rand made an incredible impression on them. And it seems like everything clicked quickly. And they, and they know what they were looking for. Let's be honest. And, I think that Miss Amy on down to Vrabel, you name it, that they have some thoughts on what they'd like to do. And I think that Rand had to obviously said the right things to help mix into that. And, but yeah, how do you hire an offensive coordinator until you know if you're buying him filet mignon or ground chuck, and he's got to work with that, right? So yes, GM had to be first. And, with Mike Vrabel in on that. Exactly. So now I'm hungry. But that's the thing. So now's the next step. Mike Vrabel can continue working, running his, trap line, so to speak, of filling his positions, knowing what they're looking at doing this offseason. Are they extending Ryan Tannehill? Are they going to go get another quarterback? Are they going to trade Tannehill? What are they doing with Derrick Henry? Are they just going to fix that offensive line? Please, God, I hope they do that. It won't matter who's at quarterback if they don't fix that first. So I still have that at the top of my to-do list. But, before you can fix the offensive line, you do have to decide what you're doing at quarterback. It's that simple. Why? Because quarterback takes up a lot of money and a lot of cap space.
And Ryan Tannehill's getting a lot of it right now.
Oh, it goes down this year, and shoot, if he's a post-1 June 1 cat or release, I mean, there's all this is what's fun about the NFL. In 2022, he had the highest salary cap number that was out there in the entire NFL. it goes down tremendously this year. And there's ways to massage that. We don't even know what the cap number is going to be yet because they haven't announced that. Usually something that they do around the winter meetings. We think 220 million, but we don't know for sure yet.
There you go. Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Teresa, as always, we appreciate it. A lot of great insight. Looking forward to hearing your stories from your questions to the Titans GM.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the reason why I haven't had a chance to make a haircut appointment, because it's like I didn't know when this was going to come together. So it's like I in fact, I'm trying to find out the time for this introductory news conference Friday, because I got an appointment Friday morning that I may have to reschedule. It's like, come on, do this on my timetable. Thank you.
We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Wild and Wacky news right after this.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
All right, time for some weird news from across the world and, of course, in Florida. How about this first, though? The Popeyes kid not only has an NIL deal with Popeyes. This is perfect, by the way, but he is now has signed a scholarship with a Division II school. So I can't say his first name, and so I won't try.
Dearnest? Maybe.
Sure.
He signed with Lake Erie College, I think. So I'd seen that. In fact, I think he signed before he got all this popping off. But I love the billboard.
He's giving that same pose as that original viral video.
I love it. So kudos to him and kudos to Popeyes.
I agree.
I mean, seriously, this kid's been a meme forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so kudos to him and kudos to Popeyes for making this happen. That's awesome. We go now to Florida with some good news. How about this? It's weird, but it's good. The first dog water park is opening in Grand Central.
Oh, goodness.
And so there's a water park for dogs, but here's the thing. There's a full bar. So you can get your dog wet, but your martini dry, if you like.
Boom.
Oh, come on! Oh yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this. I think this is a cool idea. I think we should do this more often. Let your dogs hang out, and I'll just the walk home though might be a little wobbly.
Nah, and wet.
Wet and wobbly.
Yeah.
So you never know. How about this, though? We stay in Florida as Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister. Unfortunately, his son didn't learn from his law enforcement dad because he was sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison for his role in a 2017 brawl where he stabbed another man in the face. Here's the thing. Mr. Chronister, who goes by the rap name Z Chronic, wrote about the incident in a song called Slash Yo Face. You can't rap about your crimes.
Hey, that's some wacky stuff right there.
And not go to jail.
I guess you can.
Yeah,
You're
you
just gonna go to
can.
jail.
You're right.
My
Exactly.
favorite picture of that is like the judge reading off the lyrics or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of Exhibit A right
Right.
there. Yeah. Prosecution rest, Your Honor.
So the victim, Philip Manzi, told George, he said, guess what, George? I'm still here. I'm still alive. When I walk out of here, no matter what slap on the wrist you get due to your daddy, I'll be leaving this behind me with my head held high. You'll be locked away. Boom!
Flex.
Shakalaka-laka.
There we go.
Ah. There you go. Mic drop. And that is Wild and Wacky Wednesday on this Wednesday edition of Main Street Sports. So we appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock for High School Prep Thursday. So see you then on Main Street Sports Today.